Wow, what an insane turnaround McNeese State has experienced with the arrival of Will Wade last year. The Cowboys have dominated the Southland Conference, going 36-2 during conference play the last two regular seasons, combined. While last year they would lose as a 12 seed in the first round of the NCAA tournament, this year they may be even more talented and are battle-tested after a brutal non-conference schedule. Will Wade is building the next monster mid-major program at McNeese State, and I can't wait to see what happens next. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college sports content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know who your favorite basketball program is in the comment section below. For the arrival of Will Wade, McNeese State always performed well during the regular season but would struggle in the postseason. They'd win the NAIA national title in 1956, beating Texas Southern in the title game 60-55. They would make the Division II NCAA tournament in 1968, would win the regular season title of the Southland Conference in 1975 and 1978, but would lose in the conference tournament and not make the NCAA tournament. They would make the NIT in 1986, beating Dayton in the first round, but losing to Louisiana Tech in the second round. In 1989, they would win their first conference tournament title, leading to them making their first Division I NCAA tournament, where they would lose to 1 seed Illinois 77-76. While they would win regular season conference titles in 1997 and 2001, they would lose in the conference tournament, missing out on the NCAA tournament once again. Instead, they would play in the NIT in 2001, losing to UTEP in the first round 84-74. They would not only win the Southland regular season title, but also the conference tournament title in 2002, turning to March Madness for the second time in school history, where they would lose to 3-seed Mississippi State 70-58. That would be the last time they would make the tournament for the next 22 years, before the arrival of the guy who has changed everything for this program. They'd win the Southland regular season title in 2011, losing to UTSA 75-72 in the conference tournament, instead earning a bid to play in the NIT rather than the NCAA tournament, where they would lose in the first round to Boston College. For the next 12 years, the Cowboys would struggle, usually playing at 500 ball or worse, and having a handful of seasons where they would not even win double-digit games. That was all before the arrival of controversial coach Will Wade. Now I'll explain why Will Wade was a controversial hire in just a second, but before we get into that, let's go over Wade's backstory. He would play college basketball at Clemson, where he would go on to become a graduate assistant in 2005 before being hired by Harvard as an assistant in 2007. Wade would help recruit a top 25 class to Harvard while he was there before joining Shaka Smart's staff at VCU in 2009. Wade was Smart's first hire, and together they would lead VCU to a Final Four appearance in 2011, and he helped the Rams become one of 5 teams to win 27 or more games each season from 2009 to 2013, joining the likes of Duke, Kansas, Syracuse, and Ohio State. In 2013, he would be named the head coach at Chattanooga, where in 2 seasons he went 40-25 and led them to the CIT. When Shaka Smart left VCU to become the head coach at Texas, Wade would be hired to replace him. He would lead the Rams to the A-10 regular season conference title, where they would fall in the championship game of the tournament his first season, and made the NCAA tournament where they would make the round of 32. In his second season, he led the Rams back to the NCAA tournament where they would lose in the first round. Wade would then be hired by LSU, where he helped bring them back up to being consistent March Madness contenders, with the Tigers making it to the Sweet 16 in 2019. Other than 2018, when they made the NIT, and 2020 when the tournament was canceled, Tigers played in the NCAA tournament the other 3 years he was head coach, and probably would have made the tournament in 2020. But there was an issue. Wade would be caught violating NCAA rules. After receiving a notice of allegations that detailed significant misconduct, the school fired him. Wade was accused of 5 Level 1 violations and 1 Level 2 violation, finishing with a 108-54 record at LSU. Wade would be hired by McNeese State, where he would inherit a program that was 11-23 the year before his arrival. While Wade would not coach in the first 10 games of the season, he still led McNeese to a 30-4 record, where they won both the Southland regular season and tournament title, made it to the NCAA tournament for the 3rd time in school history, this time as a 12 seed where they would lose to Gonzaga in the first round 86-65. The Cowboys put together a historic season where they finished 30-4 overall and 17-1 in conference play. Heading into the 2024-2025 season, McNeese was overwhelming favorites to repeat as Southland Conference champions, even earning 11 votes to be a part of the preseason AP Top 25. They earned 21 of the 24 possible first-place votes, with 2 of those 3 missed out votes coming from McNeese themselves, since they are not allowed to vote for themselves. Stephen F. Austin was picked to finish second, while Nichols was picked to finish third, receiving the 3 remaining first-place votes. Heading into the season, the Cowboys returned 3 starters and 6 players from last year's roster, including all Southland Conference and Defensive Player of the Year, Christian Shoemate, to go along with Javon Garcia, DJ Richards Jr., Mike Saunders, and Omar Cooper. They also added a ton of talent through the transfer portal like all Sunbelt player Joe Charles, along with multiple Power Conference players. It would have 5 players selected to the preseason team, with Shoemate, Watery Copeland, and Joe Charles being voted to the preseason first team, while Garcia and Brandon Murray were voted to the second team. The only downside was they needed to replace league MVP Shahada Wells, but with how deep the roster was, that wasn't expected to be too much of an issue. McNeese State opened up the season against South Dakota State on the road in the Field of 68 season opener, falling to the Jackrabbits 80-73. They got their first win of the season, beating the College of Biblical Studies 111-57 in their home opener, or losing the number 2 Alabama on the road 72-64. They rebounded with a win over North Texas and 2 wins in the Paradise Jam against Illinois State and Longwood before falling to Liberty in the title game 62-58. They followed that up with a loss to Santa Clara, or beating Le Tourneau 103-69. This team would be tested again, losing to number 25 Mississippi State 66-63 on the road. They would close out a brutal non-conference schedule with a win over Lafayette, which sparked an 11-game win streak to open up Southland Conference play 10-0. During that run, they would beat New Orleans, Southeastern, East Texas A&M, Northwestern State, Nichols, Houston Christian, Lamar, Stephen F. Austin, Texas Rio Grande Valley, and Texas A&M Corpus Christi. The streak would be snapped by Nichols on the road, where the Cowboys went down 71-63. They proceeded to close out the regular season on a 9-game win streak, beating Incarnate Word, Northwestern State, East Texas A&M, New Orleans, Southeastern, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, UT Rio Grande Valley, Lamar, and Stephen F. Austin. I know this is random to talk about in this video, but I wanted to take a second to appreciate the marketing and branding the Southland Conference did, especially with this tournament. When Chris Grant took over as conference commissioner back in 2022, the conference was not in a great place. They were viewed as one of the worst, if not the worst, Division I conference based on nearly every metric, and saw members leaving left and right. Now, a few years later, teams like Lamar and Stephen F. Austin have returned to the league, and they began to rework their scheduling and branding, taking more risks. My favorite thing about this all is the fact that they did a court design contest to design this year's court for the conference tournament. The design that won was inspired by the old NBA Finals Classic court design, which is just chef kiss. Beautiful. This court caught my attention almost immediately on social media, and I fell in love with it almost immediately, and so did a bunch of other fans. NBA, I don't watch your games anymore, but take notes and bring this court back. Speaking of the Southland Conference Tournament, McNeese entered as the 1 seed with their 19-1 conference record and winning the regular season title, while Lamar would finish with the 2nd seed with a 14-6 conference record. McNeese was by far the favorites to win the conference tournament with -500 odds, while Lamar came in with +850 odds, and Nichols, the 3 seed, had +1200 odds to win the tournament. Heading into the tournament, some wondered whether McNeese would still make the NCAA tournament with an at-large bid, even if they lost in the tournament, due to their resume. What made all this even more impressive is the fact they did this after losing their leading scorer, Aylin Breed, to injury in November, who was averaging 17.5 points per game. McNeese would beat Northwestern State 83-64 in the semifinals of the tournament, and Lamar 63-54 in the championship game to lock up a 2nd straight appearance in March Madness for the school for their first time in school history. Heading into the tournament with a 27-6 record, it's the first time in school history the Cowboys finished with 23 or more wins in back-to-back seasons. Heading into Selection Sunday, McNeese State is projected to be a 12 seed facing off against number 5 seed St. Mary's in the first round of the NCAA tournament. McNeese State could be a dangerous team in March and could go on a run, as they may be the strongest mid-major program in the nation right now. What do you think? How far does McNeese State go in the NCAA tournament? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.